Welcome to the Half Hour of Horror with me, Aaron McLean, and my co-host. Oh, hey, it's Chase. What's going on, man?
How's it going, Aaron? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It's a beautiful sunny day, a good respite from the weather we've been having. It's been so cold in Georgia. We've had two once-in-a-decade storms in 2025. Hooray! So I'm tired of snow. I bought a snow shovel, though. Hooray!
Nice,
um,
nice.
and but it's been good to be inside. Watch some movies, catch up on some stuff. It's been pretty exciting. But today I'm excited to talk about cults. Now, when you talk about cult films, it kind of is hard to Google because there are cult films, which is a movie that has a bunch of people who love it, like Rocky Horror Picture Show, and then there are cult films, which are movies about cults. And we're talking about movies about cults. And I want to just start talking about cults. There's a little bit of historical context here because I've done a lot of research into cults. I've read a lot of books about cults, listened to hours and hours of podcasts about cults. And cults are interesting because historically, every 4,000 years, there's an ideological shift. We used to believe that Zeus and the gods of Greece would smite us if we did something bad. That changed to something different. Then, ideas change over time. Usually it's like, the conquering country comes in, takes over, says, yo, you believe this now. And they're like, okay. And it's used to, keep people in check, explain things we don't understand. But cults started popping up when modern society didn't evolve with the ideas that we were finding. People were stuck in the four major religions. Basically, we are. It's been over 4,000 years. We haven't shifted anything else. So these cults pop up and they go, well, hey, what about this? They try to explain things away. But most cults suddenly have this moment where the leader's like, man, I got all these followers and they'll do whatever I say. And man, them kids is sexy. And it goes downhill from there. All cults fall apart when their leaders get too much power and they're like, oh, by the way, all your wives are also my wives. Super cool, huh? And they're like, I guess. It's like cults always go to shit. So cults in movies are often portrayed in that Venn diagram of folk horror. And you and I talked about folk horror. And there's going to be a lot of overlap in the movies we talk about today. Because when you have a cult that is from a very old world religion, an old world idea, you're going to have some folk horror overlap. When you have a cult that's like aliens from tomorrow, you're in like a new cult. That stuff's cool too. So we're going to talk about all sorts of different cults. We're going to talk about all sorts of movies that deal with cults. But yeah, let's dive into it. What's a movie that you want to start with that deals with cults?
It's funny you did mention that, back when we were on Twitter Spaces, we did do, or X Spaces, excuse me. We did an episode on folk horror. And when I was doing my research, I did a lot of these movies that I have on my list right now on Letterboxd are a lot of the same movies we talked about. But I want to bring up first one that I actually rewatched. We didn't talk about yet. I think we mentioned it on the show several times before that we really enjoy it. I rewatched it this week, The Sacrament from 2013, directed by Ty West. This one is a found footage film, kind of filmed like like documentary style.
Actually, really successful found footage, though. Yeah. Like a lot of found footage movies fall into these pit holes. We did a whole found footage episode, and found footage can sometimes suck, but The Sacrament's awesome.
And I think what it is that it's filmed like it's not filmed like, exposition, ooh, spooky jump scare, exposition, and then just like they just cram everything in the last act. This one, it really builds. It's filmed like a documentary. It is basically about two journalists who work for Vice Media, which is a real media company that kind of does alternative media. Like they don't do like the mainstream stuff. They kind of go like I know they had like on their channel, they had a docuseries about a cult leader that from North Carolina that was like a Satan worshiping cult. They do stuff like that, like kind of like backwoods stuff. Yep. So it follows two journalists from Vice who one of their friends is going to a journey on an island to visit his sister, who has moved into this kind of commune. It's
Mhm.
heavily inspired by the Jonestown tragedy that happened in the 70s. Um, to me, what really makes this stand out as opposed to like the other found footage is it's more grounded in reality.
Mhm.
It's not just like, oh, spooky ghosts. Like this one is actually about a cult leader who has taken these people, these kind of people who, like he talked about, a lot of his followers are victims of racism, like who were outcasts of society, drug addicts, stuff like that. He basically kind of manipulated them, brought them, made them sell everything they own, brought them to this island,
Yep.
secluded island, and you get a phenomenal performance from Gene Jones, who plays the father.
The father,
It's
so good.
Oh, he's so good. And I rewatched this and it just holds up. It's just I don't know how to describe. It's just phenomenal, like everything about it.
It's doing a great job of being able to tell a story without it being the Jonestown story, but it mirrors it really close because
Oh yeah. Oh
here's
yeah.
what happened in Jonestown. You got Jim Jones, he and his family. They start out in Indiana, woo, hometown pride. And they're trying to strike out racism, and they say we want to integrate a church completely. We want a church that has no walls and no bias. Hey, that's a great idea. This is the thing about cults. Nobody joins a cult. People join movements that they believe in. And the initial idea of Jonestown and the People's Temple was integration and like breaking down racism. Super cool. But as Jim Jones gained power, he got paranoid and weird and was like, yo, we gotta jump down to South America. Just like what happens with me. They go to an island. Jim Jones goes to South America. When they get there, people are like, are you have a bunch of kids there? That worries us. And he's like, well, come down and check it out. Well, while they're building this awesome utopia, he goes crazy, starts tormenting people, being, abusive as cults do. And they send some reporters down, and the reporters are like, yo, it's bad. So then a senator decides to go down, check out Jonestown. And when the senator gets out there, Jim Jones is like, oh man, the optics of this are pretty terrible. We got starving kids and really bad infrastructure. And we can't let them go back, kill them all. And he goes and they kill the reporters, they kill the senator, and then 900 people drink poison. And that's the famous picture you see. It's so gnarly. It's a fascinating story, terrifying. And the Sacrament played on that story with the two reporters coming down, witnessing it all, and then him being like, these are bad. You can't go back with that story. And then like basically kidnapping them. It's incredible. It's a really well done thing. The performances are really good. I actually think it's smart that they didn't do Jonestown. Instead, they made a fictional version so that they could take creative license.
Just mirrors like Jonestown.
Yeah. Yeah, don't drink the Kool-Aid. It was Flavor Aid. Kool-Aid's been trying to fight that for years. It was Flavor Aid. But yeah, hey, we all remember that though. Don't drink the Kool-Aid for that. Like that's the thing. This comes out of this cult story. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. That means don't join the cult. I love that. But it's so crazy, man. Yeah, Sacrament's one of those ones that like it is a horror movie, but it's so real. It is so real. There's no ghosts. There's no aliens. There's no devils popping out of portals. It is just the horrific ideals of man and the awful things they can do to fellow man. And that is like, woo, holy shit. What's up, Doodle Furb? Thanks for coming in.
First of all, I want to apologize, everyone, if you saw some weird movement. One of my cats is messing with everything, all my wires and stuff right now. So,
so here's something else interesting is the idea of a cult. When you're making a movie and you're like, our movie isn't necessarily a horror film, we're an action movie or we're a comedy, but we want a little like spooky dooky thrown in there. Cults are a great way to infuse other genres with a little bit of horror. And one of the ones that I want to talk about early on is the movie Hot Fuzz. And this is the follow-up film to one of our favorites, Shaun of the Dead. And Hot Fuzz, I wouldn't even consider that much of a horror film, but it has a lot of horror elements. and it has a cult in it, and it has like this the idea of like a powerful political cult. The town has these cultists that are killing people to keep the power in the town and keep the town quaint and whatever. And you know, we have our team, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, as small town cops who end up solving the big mystery. But it has so many fun kills in it, and the cultists, that it's like it is walking on that horror line, which I think is really fun. I would consider it more of a comedy than a horror movie, but it's worth talking about because there is a lot of really fun cult stuff in it. And just great kills, really funny. I love this movie. I like this better than Shaun of the Dead, which I know I'm in the minority there, but to me it was like Shaun of the Dead is parodying a bunch of movies that I had already seen. Hot Fuzz was super unique in its own right, which to me was a bigger selling point. I think they're both great movies, but personally, like Hot Fuzz is the one I want to rewatch over and over again.
Yeah, this is one actually I have not seen, but I've like everyone keeps telling me, horror fans keep telling me, like, you need to watch Hot Fuzz. And I'm like, the action comedy? Like, that's the way it was marketed as, is like the action comedy. But yeah, I do need to check it out because everyone said it has a lot of horror elements to it. He said there's like everyone said there's like cults and stuff in it. So I love Simon Pegg and I love Nick Frost. So definitely need to check this one out.
Yes, so fun, super cool, really funny. I mean, just just really funny. What do you mean you've never laid on the ground, put your gun in the air, and go bah, 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 bah. Come on.
When you get those two together, of course, it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But another cop movie that is not funny and fun that has a cult in it is Sylvester Stallone's Cobra. And this was a movie I hadn't seen until 2020, the pandemic times. A tough on crime street cop must protect the only surviving witness to a strange murderous cult with far-reaching plans. And this movie is a slasher movie, and the only person who can stop the slasher is Sylvester Stallone and a bunch of guns. It's mind-boggling because it's a horror movie. Like, the slasher stuff is gnarly. It's very much a horror movie. And then Stallone comes and is like, crime's a disease and I'm the cure. You're just like, okay, all right, Sly Stallone, get in there, blow some shit up. It is such a mashup of genre that I had never seen this. I couldn't believe I hadn't seen it. And then it was like one of my immediate favorite 80s action movies.
This is also another one I haven't seen. Again, I am a big Sylvester Stallone fan, but yeah, when you mentioned Cobra, I was like, the Stallone action
Stallone
movie? Like,
yeah, not
see,
a
I thought
movie.
I thought it was just going to be like another generic Stallone 80s shoot 'em up.
I did too. I had avoided it forever because I was like, it looks so generic. But then somebody was like, no, it's a slasher movie that Sylvester Stallone is like, we got to stop this ghost face. And it is so fun, great shootouts. But then like the first half of the movie is a slasher movie that they're trying to solve. But like him as a cop, he's like the worst cop on the planet, like Dirty Harry, but like brazen, like more brazen. Just like he's like, what are we gotta negotiate? They got hostages in there, and he's just like, oh yeah, I don't know this negotiate. And he just walks in shooting everybody, and you're just like, wow, this guy's terrible at just a terrible cop. But really fun movie, really great horror elements, and some cool cult stuff. So you're like, hell yeah. Again, not necessarily a horror staple, but I think for an action movie that's like, we're going to drag some cults into this, that makes it a good time for me.
You know what? I'm going to add this to my letterbox list, which I'm going to post after the show on the
Yeah.
comments on YouTube and on X. So, and this stuff, we're going to talk about stuff that I'm going to also, we probably won't get around to talk about, but I think are great. So
yes, we will. We both have letterbox lists going. We'll post them up there. Hit me with another good one that you got.
Oh, I'm excited to talk about this one.
Yep.
Mandy.
Okay. All right.
Nicolas Cage.
Right.
So yeah, this one is set in the 80s about Nicolas Cage, who plays a lumberjack who lives with his girlfriend in the middle of nowhere. This cult leader sees his girlfriend, becomes obsessed with her, kidnaps her, I don't know. Should we? It's a almost 7-year-old movie. Can we go into spoiler territory?
Yeah, do it.
She rejects his advances, so him and his cult sacrifice her and leave Nicolas Cage for dead. Nicolas Cage then just goes on a all-out rampage for revenge, and it's to me, this is like, I know right now Nicolas Cage is kind of in his career renaissance, where he's doing because I know during the 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s, he was just doing commercial flops, and then they did a lot of straight to video stuff. I think Mandy is credited to be the start of that career renaissance.
Yeah,
it's a Shudder film. It is phenomenal. It's very surreal. It is definitely a must watch, and it's wild.
You can check out my 1-star review of Mandy on Letterboxd. I got a lot of issues with this film. I'm glad that people love it. I really like it. It is really interesting, but for me, it was the moment that really set me off. What the fuck? We're about 45 minutes into the movie, and they drop the title sequence, the title of the movie. Anything before that title is now unnecessary, because then it starts the story. So all the stuff beforehand that built the character of his wife and him and what happened to her, I thought that was going to be the movie, but now the movie's just getting started. There's a 2-minute shot of Nick Cage's underwear crying and drinking as the camera slowly pushes it, screaming, in his underwear with a cool tiger shirt on. And it's one of those things where it goes on so long that you're just like, Nick Cage is acting his ass off. The director's on the camera going, oh my God, it's so good. And they're just like, just jerking each other off. And then they had a chainsaw fight, and I love a chainsaw fight, but it goes
awesome.
It goes for 2 clashes, and then they drop the chainsaws. And I was like, you teased me with a chainsaw fight and then didn't fight with the chainsaws enough. I don't know. It just kept making me mad.
By the way, you could check out Aaron's.
Yeah.
You could check out Aaron's 1-star review on Letterboxd. You could check out my 4.5-star review on Letterboxd.
It's a polarizing film. Bitchin' weapons, though. He gets this axe that's like sick as fuck, and it's a gorgeous axe. And there's some really cool pieces to it, and it catapults Nick Cage into this new realm of, like, you know, without this, you don't get the Willy's Wonderlands, the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is freaking phenomenal.
Long legs.
You get him doing some incredible things, and I think Mandy, like you said, kicks this off. But there was a lot of directorial fluff that bothered me. But this is a Panos Cosmatos film, and he did Beyond the Black Rainbow and like Flesh of the Gods and The Viewing. He does weird stuff, and if you're not into his weird stuff, then maybe it's not for you. Something Beautiful, which I think has Miley Cyrus in it. What is this? Yep, it's a Miley Cyrus music video. But I think he's a visionary, which I do give him credit for being like, hey, this is the movie I want to make, and you're going to like it or you're not. So good for him. We need more of those.
Gorgeous shots, gorgeous colors in it.
Great use of color.
Oh, it's amazing. And if you have Shudder, it's on Shudder. It's a Shudder original.
And the guy who played the cult leader, whose name I'm forgetting, he was fantastic. He was really creepy.
I think Linus Roach. I think that's his name.
Maybe not.
Maybe. I think. But Richard Brake's in it. You can't complain about Richard Brake. He's awesome.
Awesome. Let's go old school, man. I'm going to take this one back. This is the oldest film that I have on my Shudder list, and it's Rosemary's Baby, which we just had like a prequel to. Brain fart on the name of that prequel that just came out. Apartment like
7A.
7A, yeah. Okay. Rosemary's Baby is one of those films that when I first saw it, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I was like, meh. As I got older, that movie got scarier. And then when I had a kid, that movie became terrifying. And Rosemary's Maybe is one of those really intelligent films that grows on you in a way that is impressive to me. And it's a woman who is pregnant. She moves into a really nice apartment and in New York, and then all the neighbors are like super nice to her, almost too nice. And then she starts having these dreams of the devil impregnating her, and she's like, I think I have the devil's baby. And everybody's like, you're crazy, girl, no way. Oh yeah, she does. She has the devil's baby. All her neighbors are in a cult. They're super nice. They're the nicest people you'll meet. They want to take care of this baby. And the end is just one of those shocking things where she has the baby and the cultists are all there and they pick the baby up and she goes, oh God, the eyes. What's wrong with the eyes? And it's just her screaming, and that's how the movie ends. And you're like, whoa. And I mean, this is a Mia Farrow joint. She's so good. Such a fantastic job. Fuck Roman Polanski, but it's a really good movie.
Yeah, this one is one that I saw first as a teenager too. And again, at that age, you don't really understand what's going on. And again, it's almost 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
Like, it is a long, like, I always say for horror films, 90 minutes is like the perfect
almost all films. Time. If I see a movie over 2 hours, I'm like, oh,
oh, same. Same. But yeah, this is 2 hours, 18 minutes. But
long.
When you rewatch it as an adult and you really get the horror element of it, it is phenomenal. It's you're right. It's about a woman says she's pregnant. She's having these weird dreams like, yo, I think my baby's the devil's baby. And people are like, no. And then it turns out that everyone that's being nice to her is a part of this satanic cult that has basically given her baby to the devil. So yeah,
reveal. And like, it's one of those things. It's like, and one of the movies I'm going to talk about a little bit later does the same thing where you're like, where the movie is just like, what do you mean? They're just nice neighbors. But the main character's like, no, they're insidious. And you as a viewer are like, I don't know, they seem fine to me. But like, I'm supposed to trust the protagonist. And it's making you like question, well, the protagonist is saying they're bad, but I don't know. They don't seem like, as a viewer, you're wondering and questioning the whole time what's real. And that's brilliant when a movie gets you in that headspace where you're like, I don't know if my protagonist is reliable here. And that's always like, that's like when you can pull that off, it's very clever. And then, of course, she's right. And you're like, oh, I shouldn't have doubted her this whole time. But that's what it's about. That's the point, is people don't listen to pregnant women. People don't listen to their needs. People don't listen to their fears. And I think that was a big aspect of the movie.
And, I think that's where, here's the thing. You said that we just had a prequel come out last year.
Yeah.
And I've seen both. I think that's where the original succeeds, because it's this buildup. You don't know whether, Mia Farrow's character Rosemary is right, and she's being like, yo, stuff's going on here, she's right, or you just think she actually is losing her mind. She actually is, and these people are just nice. When you get to that final reveal, it's so shocking. Where with Apartment 7A, I think this is where this movie fails.
Yeah,
because you've seen Rosemary's Baby. It's basically the same tropes. The super nice neighbor, young woman moves into this apartment. Everyone around her is super nice and super helpful. And, it's the same basic plot, but, you already know what's going to happen. Like, you already know the big reveal's coming. And I think that's where Apartment 7A fails.
It's interesting because it goes here. It says, Rosemary's Baby, but make it Showgirls. Is this review?
Yeah. That's perfect, honestly.
I'll give it a shot. I just don't know when. I'll give it a shot at some point.
One I do have on my list that I really want to talk about. I don't know if you've seen it. I have gone on Twitter numerous times and preached this movie's greatness. We Summon the Darkness from 2019.
Daddario, Rosario Daddario.
Yeah. Alexandra Daddario and Johnny Knoxville. Yes.
Yes,
Johnny Knoxville from Jackass.
as the preacher. This is actually a super fun movie.
It is.
Good pull, man. I did see this movie and I did really like this movie. She is great. I think
Yeah.
she is better than she gets a lot of credit for because she was in that awful Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, and then like, I mean, she's very pretty, so people focus on like, oh, this is, kind of like with Jennifer's Body. She's hot, so this is what she can do. And it's like, no, she's a great actress and can actually do a lot of stuff. And like Mayfair Witches, which is a TV show she stars in, I don't like the show, but she's a very good actress who carries that show on her shoulders. So good for her.
I agree with you. I think she does get a lot of flack because, again, she is so gorgeous. People just, and then also she's been in a few bad movies, quite a few. So people, give her slag as all just a pretty face. But here she proves that she's a great actress. Surprisingly, Johnny Knoxville, who I think is a good comedic actor, he does a good job as a villain here.
Yeah.
I thought he's not in it much, but I feel like every scene that he's in is very effective. So this was a pandemic watch for me. I found this on Netflix in 2020. This is about a group of friends who go to a heavy metal concert. Again, spoilers. If you don't want to, just mute us. It's about a group of friends that go to a heavy metal show in the 80s. Meet three women. The three women are like, hey, come back to our place, my dad's place. He's not home right now. We can have some drinks. Turns out they spiked the drinks. And also, in the background, this is also in the midst of the satanic panic of the 1980s.
Yes.
Where people were claiming that there was all these satanic ritual murders happening. So they take some inspiration there. So there's also fear about that. The girls spike the guys' drinks. They wake up tied up. Pentagrams everywhere, candles, and it turns out the satanic cult murders in their area is actually all orchestrated by their church, who is trying to scare people into thinking there are satanic rituals going on, and they're like, hey, come to our church and be safe from this.
Trying to wag the dog. Yeah. Really great stuff. Like you said, Johnny Knoxville plays like the big bad. He shows up at the end and he's all like, trying to he's one of the girl's fathers. Great performance by him. Really creepy. Satanic Panic, for those who don't know, is there's a period in the 80s when there were a bunch of techniques used in interrogation by the police, which was like regressive hypnotherapy and things like that, where they would like hypnotize people and then convince them, or like basically get them to be like, yeah, when I was a kid, I witnessed all this satanic murder stuff. But like, it's all from an unreliable technique that's like wackadoo hypnotism, which you can be very suggestive. And they're like, did you see any satanic rituals when you were a child? It's like, oh yeah, all the time. And when you're hypnotized, you'll agree to just about anything. So young children especially were spouting out the wildest stuff. Oh my God, in the basement of my daycare center, there's all these murders and they killed all the children and they ate the babies and all this stuff. And people are like, whoa, oh my gosh. And they'd arrest the daycare owners and put them on trial. And then suddenly be like, there's no basement here.
So what you're talking about, what really kind of kicked off, the panic was this 1980 book publication of the memoir called Michelle Remembers.
Michelle Remembers.
It's a book written by psychiatrist Lawrence Pazder and his patient, who he would end up marrying, which I know in the world of psychiatry, that is a huge no-no. Michelle Smith, which used the controversial and now discredited practice of recovered memory therapy.
Yeah. If you've ever seen the movie Session 9, there's the whole like subplot of this is based on this idea: multiple personalities, regressive memories, crazy stuff. But yeah, so throughout the 80s, everybody was terrified of satanic cults, and you have a lot of arrests and wrongful arrests and death penalty cases over people who were like accused of this. Dungeons and Dragons comes out during this time and gets a huge rap. The game that the nerds play with the dice, satanic. sick. Pretty damn metal though. But like it was a way that conservatives were using to try to fight the youth and metal music, heavy
goth
metal,
culture.
goth culture, anything that was transgressive to them. They were using Satan to get out of it. And then, you have these bozos, especially out of San Francisco. There's a bozo whose name I'm going to forget, but he was like, yeah, I'm an ex-Satanist. I was like a top priest in the Church of Satan, and we like sacrifice people like right over here. Full of shit, proven full of shit. But like he is one of the most like cited people when police do their investigations into cultism. It's like they go grab this guy. And it's like he's a wackadoo. All he does now is he does like Christian comedy tours. It's like the guy who lied to police and America about being like a 7th level priest of Satan, and all the Satanists and like Church of Satan people were like, we don't even know that guy. We've never known that guy. I don't know what you're talking about. We collect food and give it to homeless people. This guy's psycho.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the Church of Satan, the LaVeyan Satan. From my understanding, I don't even think they're a theistic religion. They're an atheistic religion.
No, they use it to piss the squares off. Period.
Yeah.
And yeah. Period.
I mean, that's why they get upset when people do use kind of like the Church of Satan, like as like a concept of horror movies, or I know the Netflix series Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, they use their icon, the goat
Baphomet.
Yeah, the Baphomet. Yeah, they used that in the first season, the statue, as a part of their like, and they threatened to sue because they were like,
"It's a good show, though. That show was good. I liked it.
It was good for the first 2 seasons.
Well, yeah. I mean,
2 seasons.
I only watched the first season. It was great. Here's one. So when I was saying earlier about a movie where the protagonist keeps saying something's wrong, and the audience, even you watching it, are like, I don't know, dude, you might be off base here. The Invitation.
I haven't seen this one either. I'm going to put it on the list.
Well, I will give you a caveat. Is slow. It is a slow burn, but it was one of those movies that I was in the right headspace for it, and I thought it was brilliant. This family, this guy and his girlfriend show up, and he's going through some stuff. He's on edge. He's on the verge of kind of a mental breakdown himself, but he shows up at this dinner party with his friends, and he immediately is like, something's off. What is going on here? Are you guys lying to us? What's happening? And everybody's like, settle down, have some food. It's going to be chill. And he's like, no, freaking out. And it does such a good job of like roping you in again and again into, oh, he's nuts. Oh, wait, no, maybe he's right. Oh, wait, no. Man, you had me believe in him for a second. And it just drags you on this tug of war, but it's so subtle. It's so subtle. And then the ending has one of the most chilling, like just gut punch of an endings you've ever seen, where it's just like, since you haven't seen, I won't spoil it, but it has a very good chilling ending. A great shot, because it's a very small movie. It all takes place in one house, and then at the end you just get this one wide shot that just shows the scope of what's going on. You're like, wow, really, really powerful, really good.
Izzy just commented, the final shot at this film is one of the scariest, most disturbing shots I've seen in a long time. Okay.
Yeah. And Izzy,
y'all had my curiosity, now y'all have my attention.
But just be aware, like, it's one of those movies that, like, I love it, but a lot of people are like, it's so boring. Yeah, it is. But what it's building to and what it puts forth, you got to be in the right headspace for that, for a slow build, slow burn. It's not gory. It's not necessarily even scary, but it's that idea of paranoia. And I think especially now, like, I feel this way where there's times where I'm screaming like a madman about something like AI or, the end of the world. And everybody's like, you're crazy. And then all of a sudden you're like, was I?
Yeah.
Here we are. Invitation. Really, really worth watching. Hit me with another one, man.
Oh, okay. I have so many on the list. Yeah. I'm going to throw this one out there. Even though we talked about it in the Folk Horror, because I'm a huge Rob Zombie fanboy.
Yeah.
Lords of Salem, to me, Rob Zombie's most overhated and among his best films.
Yeah.
This one is great. It's set in Salem, Massachusetts, of course, historical setting, the site of the Salem witch trials, where a lot of women were falsely accused of being witches. So
Mhm.
this one's set in a world where some of the women who were executed were actually a cult of satanic Satan worshiping witches. They put a curse on the town of Salem and the descendants of John Hawthorne and those who rounded them up and executed them. Like, we're going to come back. We're going to do this again, and we're going to take your descendants, and your descendants will go to hell with us.
Yeah.
And yeah, this one is really good. I really love kind of like, so in the film, it stars Sherry Moon Zombie as a recovering addict who lives in this apartment complex with, what is her name? Judy Geeson's character, Lacey Doyle, who has her sisters come. And again, it's kind of like the Rosemary's Baby situation where they're all really nice to her. They treat her like they're her daughter, like Sherry Moon Zombie's Heidi is her daughter. But the thing is, you don't know as an audience, like, what their intentions are. Are they just nice people? Are they actually doing something to Sherry or Heidi where she's seeing these visions and nightmares? Then when you get to the final act, you're like, oh shit, these women are actually insidious. They have these ulterior motives. And yeah, this movie is just wild.
This is a movie that this is Rob Zombie's, like, to me, his most unique film, because ambitious too, because House of a Thousand Corpses is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre homage. It's his version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Devil's Reject is kind of the biker exploitation film of the 70s. It's kind of homage to that. You have 31, which is kind of like a Running Man, but with clowns.
Killer clowns. But this is the one that I think is most successful. I love Devil's Rejects. I'm gonna put it out there. I'm also a Rob Zombie fan.
Ellie could just said 31 is another Rob Zombie movie with a cult in it. It's true.
It's true. The clown cult.
Yeah.
I like Rob Zombie. I think he's an auteur in his own right, and at least he's doing something that's interesting. To me, that Lords of Salem is his most original film. Yes, it's drawing a lot from cult movies and witch movies, but compared to, like you said, even Devil's Rejects has that like 70s vibe, but it's still highly unique. This is his most unique film in my book. It's also his like least bombastically gory or exploitative. It is very personal and introspective. It certainly has elements of that, but like Devil's Rejects is just pure exploitation. It's violent, it's crass, it's gross, it's it's having fun at the same time, which is great. Right. But like Lords of Salem was like very down tempo, but very dark and moody, and very interesting. And really showed off what Sherry Moon can do. I know a lot of people don't think she's the greatest actress. She's not, but she can carry a film, and she can carry a film like this very well. And I think she and Rob Zombie, her husband, are a fantastic collaborative force. So, I don't know if she's going to get cast in, movies that he doesn't make, but at the same time, she doesn't need to be, because she's rocking in these movies. Big props.
Yeah, and I know she gets a lot of hate, especially for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which I went on a rant back when we were on Twitter Spaces. We had our Halloween episode. I fucking love that movie. I fucking love Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. But yeah, I'll say her part was a little unnecessary, the ghost mom, but yeah, I thought she was fantastic here. This is easily, out of all of his films that he's done, this is easily her best performance.
Big time. And creepy visuals. So creepy.
Oh, gorgeous creepy visuals. A lot of neon lighting, a lot of reds and pinks and yellows.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Love it. Trying to think what else to follow up there. Let's get super gnarly. You want to get super gnarly?
Let's do it. Lay it on me.
Martyrs. Let's it's one of the granddaddies of all the most fucked up films of all time. This is Martyrs, the French version. And it is so brutal and so savage, but has such an interesting cult influence. And it starts with two French girls who are orphans, and one of them is like, "We got to go back and confront the family that abused me." And her friend is like, "All right, I'll go along." And they go in, and her friend goes ballistic and starts just murders the entire family, men, women, children. She didn't give a fuck. And her friend's like, "Whoa, whoa, I thought we were going to confront them. I didn't think." She's like, "No, you don't understand. They're an evil cult, and they're like torturing people in the basement." And she's like, "Oh no, now I'm implicated in murders. No way." And then just when she's about to leave, she finds a trap door that opens into the basement. And in the basement, they find a woman chained up who has obviously been through hell. And it is a movie about torture, but the cult believes that at the moment of death, a martyr sees God's face. And it's all based on like the Joan of Arc. And if you've seen the original black and white, The Passion of Joan of Arc, it's in 4:3. It is one of the most brilliant black and white silent films you will ever see in your life. It is all played off of this, her face, boom. And the moment where she's burning in the fire and she looks up and sees the grace of her salvation in the moment of pain, you believe it. And this movie is all based on that idea. And they have all these paintings of like martyrs dying, and this cult wants to witness that moment. And so they torture people to death. It is so fucked. It's so gnarly. It is French extreme at its most extreme. It is not recommended for everybody, but it is a staple of extreme horror, and just it is more elevated than just torture. It is smarter than just torture. That's why I think it deserves to be recognized as a good movie and not just like one of the puke vomit fairy princess films, whatever those are, like the August Underground films that are just torture porn. This is smarter than that, but nevertheless very disturbing and very, very messed up.
Here's the thing. When you said you want to get extreme,
Yep.
and I said, yeah. Oh yeah, I did convert Izzy to the cult of Rob Zombie's Halloween too.
Heck yeah.
My work is not yet done. I got many more to go.
Yeah.
But this is one of those when you said, "Oh, let's get extreme." I was thinking, "Oh, it's just gonna be a little light slap," But no,
Yeah,
you come
heavy.
in and just hit me in the gut with a butcher knife.
It's heavy. I know we have some sick fucks out there who love this movie. Good for you guys. But like, I think even the sick puppies are like, "Yeah, man, that one's rough."
This is one of those movies that I have in my list of movies I enjoyed. I thought was a well done film. I'm not watching that shit again.
I saw it.
I
saw it.
I saw it. And that's all I need to do. It is, yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, even for like people who are desensitized like I am to movies, like horror movies. Again, I've seen horror movies with people, and like Substance is an example where people are like, "Oh my God, this is so gross." And I'm just like,
Yeah.
the grossest part was watching Dennis Quaid eat shrimp. But
Eat shrimp, yeah, right.
But this is one of those
Yeah.
that even me, who's desensitized to horror, I'm like, that's too fucked up for me.
There's a handful of movies that do that and I think Martyrs is doing that on purpose. I think they're like, if you are desensitized, then what's wrong with you? And I think that's sort of a big statement it's making, is the idea of desensitization. There's a handful of movies like that. Funny Games is a big one too. That's like, yeah, drastically awful. And it's like, if you're desensitized, we are going to humanize the people that you came to watch die. And that's
Right.
one of the harshest things to do to a horror movie, is to humanize its characters. But it is a gnarly cult that is obsessed with this idea and torturing people to get it. Woo!
Speaking of humanizing characters,
Yeah.
so that way it makes their death more impactful. I'm gonna bring up one. And it's gonna be one of those people are gonna hear the name and they're gonna be unexpected, like, wait, that movie?
Wait,
But I'm
what?
gonna talk about a different movie. The Wrong Turn, but not the 2003 Hillbilly Cannibal ones. The 2021 reboot that came out. This one is really good. To me, it's my favorite Wrong Turn movie. I fucking
Really?
hate that franchise, but um, this one follows a group of kind of like young, upstart kind of yuppie millennials go into the Appalachian for a hiking adventure. And they come across a group called the Foundation, which is kind of like a hidden cult of mountain people who protect their way of life, who have this very old, they live like the old style of life. They have no technology. They grow their own food.
It's
They
as if they
farm
stumbled onto
everything.
The Village. Remember that movie?
Right, right, right,
It's as if they stumbled onto that and they're like, no, you can't spoil this. Like, we're gonna keep this shit going.
right, right. This one again is another one that is very hard to watch just because like it's a slow burn. It's not, like the other Wrong Turn films where it's like hillbilly cannibals
Yeah,
cutting people's heads off with barbed wire. It's
I
it is it really it's a very much a slow burn, but it does that so you can get to know each character. You get to know their personality. So that way when each one of them dies, it's more impactful. And you get to see the human responses when they die, like their emotion, them having to deal with these deaths.
when we were talking about Pumpkinhead, we talked a lot about Appalachian community and the ideas of the Appalachians, and sort of their myths and culture, and this seems to be approaching that from a um, more of like a mythical culty way as opposed to like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre way.
Right, right, right. But yeah, this one to me is a really good one. I really kind of love that Appalachian cult of people who live the old life, the old style, the old way, and they're just it's one of those, what they're doing is wrong, but they're also trying to protect their community.
Mm, that's awesome. Um, got some gnarly kills in it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice.
I mean, it's not over the top like the other Wrong Turn movies, but to me, this is a more grounded Wrong Turn film.
So one of the movies that first introduced me to the idea of cults, is, again, not necessarily a horror movie, but one that like stuck with me and scared the shit out of me. This is an Amblin Entertainment, so produced by Steven Spielberg. I'm talking about the Young Sherlock Holmes movie,
Ooh.
1985, and you have a young Sherlock Holmes. He meets Dr. Watson as a boy in an English boarding school, and they go on this adventure and they find a Egyptian cult of British people who are like mummifying people alive and burning them in hot oil. And it, as a kid, scared the living shit out of me. Also, they're using like blow darts that make you trip balls. And there's moments in this movie where like the children have been hit with these darts, and they're getting they're just tripping. Like Dr. Watson opens a refrigerator and donuts are like jumping down his throat. Stained glass knight jumps off the ceiling, and it's the first use of a full CGI character, a stained glass knight fighting Sherlock Holmes, and he's fencing. And it is so, in my mind, this movie slaps. I don't know if it holds up. I don't know if there's things in it that are terrible now, but like when I saw it as a kid, it scared the shit out of me, but also was so intriguing and so cool and literally right in line. Like if you watch this and then went and watched the Iron Man, Tony Stark, Sherlock Holmes movies, it's right in the same vein where he's like, an inventor. He's kicking ass. They like build a machine that flies. Like, it's freaking awesome. Super fun adventure, but has some really creepy cult stuff. And it reminds me online with another movie that's worth mentioning is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, where they're like hiding and they watch this like human sacrifice happen. And it's like, whoa. As a kid, I wasn't ready for that.
One of the films that caused the PG-13 rating, Indiana Jones
and the Temple of Doom. Yep. Yeah.
Doom, yep.
Yep.
I'm adding that to my list. Screw it.
Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, young Sherlock Holmes is
Actually, and Indiana Jones is going on the list too.
yeah, because so like, how can you not be mad at an Indiana Jones Temple of Doom? It's just such a fun movie. It's so gnarly. Great cult movie. The Cult of the Thuggy. Super. I don't know. Definitely has some problematic aspects to it, but fuck it, the guy gets his heart ripped out. Yeah, the dinner scene. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's so no," but it's like, I don't know. It's gross. It's fun. I still love that movie.
I'm gonna add it. This is gonna get added to my watch list because when I was doing my research, I've seen a lot of people mention your Young Sherlock Holmes.
Young Sherlock Holmes is fantastic. Really cool. Super good. What else we got?
I have one 2011's Red State by Kevin Smith.
Awesome.
Michael Parks, John Goodman, Oscar winner Melissa Leo, Scream King, Kyle Gallner. Kyle Gallner is in this. Yeah, this one is basically set in kind of like rural America where a group of teens receive kind of an invitation to come like, hey, meet this woman for sex, but they soon find out it is a Christian cult who are going to kill them for their sins.
Yep. And it is crazy. Really well acted all around. Very interesting film. I saw this on the road tour. So I saw this with Kevin Smith. He spoke and I like he was there. This was in LA. Jason Mewes showed up. Like, it was so cool. But I was super fucking pissed with the Q&A because I listened to Kevin Smith's podcast. I've heard all of his stories. He has a problem of repeating the same story over and over again. Somebody in the front row raises their hand. First question. They ask him a question that we've heard the answer to 1,000,000 times in the documentary about him. Anytime on his podcast, he tells this story over and over again. That person knew what his answer was going to be, but they just wanted him to tell them the story. So he talked for an hour. And that was the only question. And then just before, he's like, well, time's up. I only answered one question. I said, God damn it. And he goes, whoa, somebody's pissed off in the back. And I was like, your films very rarely have violence. What was it like to film a scene with guns, with shootouts? You don't normally do that sort of thing. He goes, that's a great question. And I was like, motherfucker, we could have had that.
Answer it.
Yeah. And he answered it. And he said it was very interesting. All the guns are fake. He had a great team working on it. But like, I wanted to hear what the filmmaking process was for the movie that we just watched, not the one I've heard 1,000,000 times because I've heard him speak live before. Like, oh, I just wanted to go and choke that person out. Like, it's like when you go to a comedy show and you're like, tell the joke you keep telling, we love it. It's like, oh my God, please just like, let's talk about this movie because I wanted to know
what we just watched.
Yeah, I want to know why he chose this aspect of it. I want to know why he chose the story that he chose, how he came about it. Had he grown up in a highly conservative area where this seemed like more of a reality? Because I grew up in Indianapolis, man. I grew up in Indiana. That level of Christianity is 45 minutes down the highway where like those people are like, we go to the same denominational church, but you guys don't believe in dinosaurs. You guys don't believe in evolution, and you're 15 minutes out of the city. And that's that sort of thing. When you get to that level of like, again, nobody joins a cult thinking that it's a cult. They're brought in, oh, the church down the road, we're going to go. And then the person in charge gets your mindset wrong. And that's the thing that made Red State really creepy, but also really good to me.
Yeah. And to me, I'm the same way. I'm from North Carolina. And again, there are those there are those extreme kind of fundamentalist Christian cults. You could be at the grocery store in line waiting, talking with someone who's a member of it, and you just don't know until you see them at some kind of protest screaming that someone's going to hell for smoking a cigarette. Like
the big signs.
Like, oh, shit, didn't I just have a talk with you?
It's wild, man. Red State's a good one. That's a great choice, man. I I think that's Kevin Smith's best film. Obviously,
yeah.
obviously, I love Clerks and I love
Right.
Chasing Amy and I love Dogma, but like this is to me like the one that really made a good movie. Maybe not his most enjoyable movie, maybe not his most fun movie, but like, man, he made a good movie there.
Oh, fantastic. All right. What else do you have? Let's see.
Here's one that I got. This one came out in 2018, and I loved it. It was Gareth Evans directed, and it is The Apostle. And I love me some Dan Stevens. So when I heard Dan Stevens made a cult movie where he goes to an island, search for his missing sister who's been kidnapped by a mysterious religious cult, it's basically just The Wicker Man, but like a little like just a different time period, a different vibe. It's not British, but it's got that Wicker Man DNA all over it. But The Apostle is really cool, and like they do some human sacrifice shit by like drilling into the top of their skull, which is gnarly. Great movie. Like I said, 1905 is when it takes place, which is really fun. So it's a cool movie. Really brutal. Super solid. Very, very much worth the watch.
This is not one I've seen, but this was one that I researched when we were doing our folk horror episode, back in like August? When was that? That was a while ago. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but
July or August, yeah, because I was still in Boston.
Yeah. But yeah, this is one I haven't seen yet, but I will get around to watching it just because I am a huge fan of Dan Stevens, and I do love a good folk horror storytell. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna check this one. And it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's a good
original.
one on Netflix. Yeah, that one's absolutely worth it. I got one more and maybe a honorable mention. What do you got?
Well, it's not necessarily kind of is. We talked about it a couple weeks ago on the Block of Horror Roundtable Talk. The Menu.
Oh, I haven't seen this yet. I can't, it's so high on my list and always gets knocked out because it's like, well, there doesn't seem to be zombies or monsters in it. Is this a good movie? Should I be watching this?
I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to say The Menu and watch it. When you watch it, just text me, okay?
All right. Hi, it's like I can't tell you. It is literally sitting at the top of my I have a short private letterbox list between me and my wife that's just like here because she's like, what are we going to watch tonight? And I'm like, well, here's the list, and the menu is sitting right there. Always, it's just been sitting there, and I'm like, the menu, and it's like, well, again, it's when you read the tagline, it isn't a like, grab you and drag you into a must-watch state.
Right.
It's kind of like, well, I don't know, it could be boring, but like, man, I want to see that movie.
It's amazing. Trust me. Just when you get a free moment, watch it. I highly recommend it.
Obviously, it's hard not to talk about cults without mentioning The Omen, the First Omen, Children of the Corn, Wicker Man, the Dunwich Horror, which is a Hammer horror that's phenomenal. One of the other great Hammer horror, The Devil Rides Out, which is full of like awesome old school VFX, practical effects, cool stuff like that. But the one that I want to bring up last from my list is a movie that has Ernest Borgnine and John Travolta before he was John Travolta, with their faces melting off in The Devil's Rain.
Devil's Rain.
Yeah, Devil Rides Out. Elinka knows what's up. The Devil's Rain. You have Ernest Borgnine, who I love. They're in a cult, and the movie pretty fucking boring, but the last 10 minutes are worth it. You could just find the last 10 minutes on YouTube and just watch them because everybody's melting and their eyes are melting out of their head. And it's like Ernest Borgnine melting, John Travolta. And literally, like, this is the only time he's in the movie. It's just John Travolta goes, oh, blah, and it melts. It's just like all these people, it starts raining and everybody starts melting. It's the devil's rain after some human sacrifice shit. It has its moments for sure, but like overall, the movie's pretty forgettable. But the last 10 minutes is one of those things that I saw with a group of friends, and like we had the movie on and we were just bullshitting and laughing, and then all of a sudden people started melting and we were like, what? And could not look away. So the last 10 minutes of The Devil's Rain, peeps.
This is another one that you mentioned, John Travolta getting his face melted off. I'm going to add this to my watch list.
Yeah, I mean it again, it's not great, but the last 10 minutes are almost worth is almost worth the how long is this movie? Where does it tell me? Oh,
Um,
I don't know. It's not
only
saying
85 minutes. It's only 85 minutes
only
from what I'm
85
seeing.
minutes.
That's not long at all.
Well,
That's
70 of
palatable.
those minutes are kind of boring. And then the last, but great. Super fun though. And again, I like anything Ernest Borgnine's in, especially when he's like the bad guy. Good stuff. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I actually do have a few more I want to mention,
yeah,
just kind of
honorable mentions.
rush them out.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. I have Hereditary, great
Yes.
film, Ari Aster. Another
Ooh.
Ari Aster film, Midsummer. The Babysitter movies, Babysitter and Babysitter Killer Queen, both great movies.
I'm gonna stop you right there. Let's quickly, like, so fun, so much
fun. Oh my god, I love them.
those movies. I did not think I was going to love those movies, and then I watched them. I was like, this is so fun and so clever and silly in all the best ways.
Oh yeah, this one is a ton. I was the same way. I because again, I'm kind of weary on Netflix original films. You can get something really good, but I enjoyed both of them. The first one's so much better, but yeah, these are a lot of fun. The House of the Devil, which is one of Ty West's first films,
Yeah.
is a really good one. And a series, American Horror Story Cult, which is which probably is one of the best seasons of the post Jessica Lange American Horror Story. I'm not going to get in too much detail. There's two YouTubers who, after the show, in the comments on YouTube, I'm going to leave links to their video. They did a video essays on it. Kane Varner and Skylar Gaetano. Both did great videos on it. So I'm going to leave it in the comments on YouTube and X.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm really glad you brought up The Babysitter because I really like that first film, and the second one's fun. It's just more of the same, and it's like, oh, you like this? Here's another hour and a half of it, and you're like, well, that's fine, but like,
just less Samara Weaving. Just less Samara Weaving.
She's great. I mean, Ready or Not, come on, that is a great movie.
Ready or Not, that could technically be.
I was wondering that. Okay,
I have that on my list
because it's like, are they a cult or are they just a family? Which I guess a family could be a cult all in its own right. So maybe,
yeah, I mean, they sacrifice someone at a wedding in order so they can attain their wealth that they have and their lifestyle.
All right, throwing it on.
Game.
Yeah, throwing it on.
Dr. Sleep.
When did that come out?
Ready or Not?
Yeah.
2019.
Maybe.
I'm seeing a lot of people in the comments say Children of the Corn. Also another great, the first one.
Yeah. Here's a franchise that went downhill fast. The first Children of the Corn is Children of the Corn is phenomenal. Just one of the best. Dr. Sleep. Yes. Oh yeah, Dr. Sleep does have some culty stuff going on.
It does.
Addie the Hat. Yeah, Dr. Sleep, putting that on the list. I do like that movie. Dr. Sleep was great. A great like update to The Shining.
The Shining.
And we could do a whole Stephen King episode at some point this year.
I'm down.
Get Out.
Oh.
Get Out's kind of a cult too. Yeah, because they're putting themselves in the bodies of other people. Halloween 6, Cult of the Thorn. Yes, yeah.
Wait, depends on which version you're watching.
Right.
I will say, okay, so there's two versions. There's the producer's cut, and then there's the theatrical cut. If you want gore, boobs, and rock music, watch the theatrical cut. If you want actually more cult element to it, watch the producer's cut, which I actually think is better.
Cult of the Thorn.
Cult of the Thorn.
Yeah, that's where that movie, that franchise gets wacky. Ooh, The Void.
I haven't seen this one.
Very cool one. The Void is absolutely like in that like Cthulhu cult. Oh, Dagon, same sort of deal where it's like you have a cult trying to bring an otherworldly being into our world for end time stuff. If you guys haven't, I just saw Dagon again recently. It is not Stuart Gordon's best, but there's some really crazy stuff going into it. All the fish monsters. I wish it had more practical and less shitty 2000 CGI, but really great ideas and some really gnarly skidding scene.
You said this one's called Dagon?
Dagon, yeah. So in the Cthulhu mythos, there's this whole idea of Dagon, who's like the sea god in Cthulhu's sort of mythology. And the Dagon is worshipped by these people, and the people start turning into fish people, fish monsters. And like in his book, he'll be talking to somebody and realize they have gills and stuff like that. And in this movie, it's like this couple, their boat gets messed up and they end up on this island, and like there's fish people, like human mutant fish people, and they've been transformed and they worship Dagon. And there's like a fish mermaid woman, but like the old school mermaid with the Starbucks mermaid with the double tails, gnarly stuff. And pretty interesting. And it's what's his name? I can't remember. It's really good. It's really worth checking out. Really fun for the most part. But there's some really crappy CGI. So apologies when you watch it and you go, oh.
What year did that come out?
2001, and it's Brian Usna and Stuart Gordon who did Reanimator, who did Return of the Living Dead 3, who did Bride of Reanimator, The Beyond. I mean, they have a great oeuvre. This is not their best film by any means, but it's solid, and there's some really creepy stuff with fish people. So Dagon, and they're a cult. They are a cult because it was like a Christian island in Spain, and then they're like, this guy showed up, was like, dude, what are you getting out of praying to this god? Worship Dagon. It's going to be awesome. And they're like, oh, all right. So they start worshiping Dagon, and the only downside is you turn into fish mutants. I mean, but I guess they're down with that. So cool.
Another one that I'm seeing in my research that a lot of people are mentioning online on forums, The Empty Man, which I have not seen, but throw that out there.
I don't know this movie. 2020?
I don't either. Yeah. That's okay.
I'll give it a shot. So yeah, there we go. Cults. Don't join a cult, guys. The thing about it, I'll leave it with this. It's like I said, nobody joins a cult. Everybody joins a movement that they believe in, something that's going to be different, something that's going to change the status quo that I'm tired of. I'm fed up with how standard churches do things, so I'm going to join this church. I'm fed up with how the government does things, so I'm going to join this thing. And definitely Immaculate.
Yep.
Definitely Immaculate. Good cult movie. So people join movements that they believe in, but they're in so deep by the time things start to get crazy, and they don't have the strength, the gumption to stand up and say, nah, I'm good, I'm out. And that's the hardest thing. And I want to leave you with this, is the idea of sunk cost fallacy. Well, I've put so much work into XYZ, a relationship, this movement. If I leave, all of that is worth nothing. That's not true. Cutting and running when it's time to do so is so important for your sanity and your safety. And, if you're in a bad relationship, well, I've spent so much time. If I just stick around a little bit longer, nah, get the fuck out. Oh, I've spent so much time at this job, but I'm so unhappy. Get the fuck out. Oh man, I've been in this movement. I thought we were going to end racism, but this cultist wants me to move down to South America and give me all his money. Get the fuck out. Cost sunk fallacy. So there we go. Don't join a cult, guys. I've given you all the tools you need. So anyway, speaking of cults, Block of Horror is freaking awesome.
Exactly. Join our cult. Join our cult.
Yeah. We join us on the Block of Horror on all the platforms and in the virtual world. Big shout out to anybody who is watching in the Prophets Theater Day. Shout out to everybody on YouTube and X who have joined us today. Love seeing you guys on Saturdays. Love the conversation and the great input we get from you guys and great suggestions, because there's so many movies that I forget that you're like, oh yeah, that one, super good. You guys are fantastic. Next week we're talking Melt movies, I think. Might be switching up. Depends on the availability of Christopher, who was like, "Oh man, I want to talk about melt movies." So if you guys want to see some ooey gooey melt movies, that's what we're going to be talking about. With me, Lightning McLean. So yes, Chase, where can people follow you? Give them the socials. Plug it up.
So find me everything at oh hey, it's Chase. On everything, Instagram, Blue Sky, X, Letterbox, which I will be posting after the show in the comments on here on YouTube and on X. My list of movies that we talked about today, and a few little sprinkled that we didn't get to. And then join our cult, blockofhorror.com, join the virtual world, create an avatar, and join our cult. Link, I think it's more an occult. More of an occult.
Occult. So we gotta give away some Bloodcoin. If you go to our Discord, you open up Bloodcoin. Because I was so inspired by the mention of Halloween 6. Today's Bloodcoin word is Thorn.
Thorn.
Cult of the Thorn. So yeah, go ahead, throw it in there, and open a ticket, throw it in there, get some Bloodcoin, and there we go. You can follow me, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at McLean and Abel, and then my other podcast, Launchpad Podcast. On all the socials there. We're going to start doing some more live streaming then too. But until then, guys, we'll see you on Saturdays. Hey, Craft Witch, 30% discount code.
Oh, yeah, Craft Witch. Go to Craft Witch.
Or did I put that up? Maybe I did that. Well, anyway, thanks, guys. We'll catch you guys next week. And till next time, enjoy.